Hi guys, and many thanks for joining me. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related stuff. Please don't forget to make sure you hit the big red subscribe button below and also hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. For my returning subscribers and viewers, I would like to thank you all so much for your lovely comments I always read from you and for your continuous support. This is what keeps me and my channel going. Thank you so much. In today's video, I want to talk to you about Trezell and Jaqueline West first ever media interview or press conference. But before we get started, here is the disclaimer. I do not mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in today's video. The video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information I collect is from the internet. I compile this information, make a video, and from this you guys are more than welcome to draw your own conclusions. Thank you. And if you watched my other video on Orrin and Orson West, as I said, in this video I am going to give my honest opinion and will attempt to analyze Trezell and Jaqueline West first interview after the disappearance of Orrin and Orson West. For those of you unfamiliar with this case, Orrin and Orson West, 4 and 3 years old, disappeared on December 21st, 2020 from their family home in Cal City, where they live with their 4 siblings and their adoptive parents, Trezell and Jaqueline West. Straight from the beginning, I really found something suspicious about the parents. In my opinion, their story just does not add up. Their interview is weird and, you know what, most of all, quite emotionless. Even the chief present at the scene suspected foul play from the get-go. So, let's jump straight in.
We just want to thank everyone in the community for all the support we've seen. We've felt so helpless, and seeing everybody out here really looking and helping out really means a lot.
The interview starts with Jaqueline thanking everyone for their support and for helping out with the search. It's just the beginning of this interview and I am already seeing some really bad stuff here, okay? She is a nervous wreck. You can clearly hear her voice shaking as she's talking. She does not make eye contact with the reporter or the camera. She keeps looking around as if trying to, inspire herself or perhaps remember what she needs to say. And Trezell keeps affirming what she says and also give out some sighs, which to me are honestly a sign of frustration or perhaps relief. I don't know, I'm really getting the feeling that although it's their first time giving a press conference, they seem really fed up with this whole thing. They seem like, they are made in a way to do this, but they don't really want to, as if they would rather be just about anywhere else apart from this place. Which is quite telling, if I'm honest. At this stage, the reporter is asking them to say what happened on the night Orrin and Orson West went missing.
Okay.
From our yard.
Okay.
Right here is a big indication of their state of mind. Trezell is already taking a deep breath and then he sighs again. And I have to say, I see this as frustration and anger as well. Like he's thinking, oh, here we go again. He then very oddly says, okay. And Jaqueline jumps right in and says yard. And I have a few points here. We can feel and see the frustration. In my opinion, these are not parents who are genuinely concerned for their missing children. These are people who just don't want to be here. They don't want to be doing this, right?
It was cold. I was gonna make a fire. There's a lot of wood in this area right here next to our house. I opened up the back gate. I'm throwing wood, bringing it inside the house. My wife's inside. She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that our youngest two go outside and play with chalk on the back patio. Do not let them go on the dirt in the backyard. We keep them close. So I was playing with chalk, and I came in the house. I saw them there. I went in the house. I came back out. I didn't see them now. I immediately went back in, asked my wife, did you see the boys? She said, no, they should be outside playing with chalk. I said, well, I didn't see them, so I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing.
The way that Trezell starts is very similar to a well-rehearsed script. Jaqueline gives him the cue and then he carries on. Something like, you know, when you are in school and you have to memorize a poem or something, and you sort of guide yourself from a certain phrase or word that triggers you to remember the rest. That's what me and my sister, we used to do when we were in high school, when we helped each other practice the lines. I know it's an unusual comparison, but I think that this way you can better understand where I'm coming from. With Trezell and Jaqueline, it's very much just like that. It was called, I was going to make a fire. This is a typical robotic reply. I call it robotic because, again, referring back to when I used to be in high school, I would robotically learn those phrases word by word. To me, Trezell sounds just like a very bad actor who knows the lines, but he doesn't quite put the accent on words where it should be. He sounds just like a robot, emotionless. Then there's just too much information being given. The fire, collecting firewood by the house, the backyard, the patio, and so on. Why not just straight to the point? I was collecting firewood, the boys were playing in the yard, and they vanished without me noticing. Simple and to the point. I find that they are going too much into useless details. As he's describing what he did, his eyesight is to the area around the house. Is this a sign that he's trying to remember his story? Like, finding some reference points? That cue again? The one thing which is consistent throughout the whole interview is Trezell's hands placed for 15 minutes in the same position, and also Jaqueline's constant swaying from side to side. He's trying to keep himself in control. That's why his hands are where they are. On the opposite, however, she is swaying from side to side and looking down out of nervousness and shame, embarrassment. She is nervous because she knows they are involved, and so she's trying to comfort herself. She's looking down out of shame because she knows exactly what happened, in my opinion, and she knows she's lying, so she can't really face anyone. This reminds me, as I mentioned in my first video, so much of Chris Watts' interview. He was so nervous, it's unbelievable. His reaction was not normal at all. He was just laughing throughout the interview. He was hugging himself and constantly swaying from side to side. You see, the body language is everything, because your body is cheating on you if the words out of your mouth are lies. It's enough to have a look at kids and school plays, okay? I remember so well, my 11-year-old, when she was younger, each time she performed on stage, she would always sway from side to side. She was clearly nervous for being on stage and scared of forgetting her lines. You might say a child and an adult is hardly a comparison, but I think when it comes to body language, this is not the case. It's still that same basic defense mechanism, if you will, your body's way of responding to your emotions. And that is the base, is not a gradual increase. If you create a timeline from childhood to adulthood, there are so many traits which stay just the same. Okay, moving on to the next part of the interview. So, Trezell goes on again in so much detail about how Jaqueline was wrapping Christmas gifts, and they thought it was a good idea to keep the kids outside to play with chalk, so they don't see Jaqueline wrapping their presents. You know, I've already mentioned this in my previous video, but I will say it again. First of all, you don't just send a 3 and 4 year old outside in the dark to play with chalk so you can wrap Christmas gifts. This is hypocritical, really. It's hypocritical. And who even does that? Are there not enough rooms in one's house to wrap gifts, or wasn't there any other time to do it? As Trezell loved to highlight, it was cold. It was cold. So why on earth would you send 2 toddlers outside in the cold and dark to play with chalk so you can wrap Christmas gifts inside in the warmth? Does it really make sense to you? Not in the slightest. He is then mentioning he went in, he got back out, in again, and so on. He's trying to justify the whole situation like this. They send the kids outside because the wife was wrapping gifts. They vanished because they were outside because she wrapped Christmas gifts so they don't see her. And that's why they went missing. He's trying to justify his and his wife's actions, but at the same time, he's trying to shift the blame from them to the children. If Christmas wouldn't be so near, she wouldn't have to wrap gifts, and so they wouldn't have to be sent outside to play, and they wouldn't go missing. You see where I'm going with this? And then we also have Trezell. He says he was collecting firewood, and that's when he noticed they disappeared. Obviously, he said that he left the gate open and he didn't realize it. So he's collecting firewood, he leaves the gate open, but the kids disappear without him seeing them or even hearing them. I find it quite impossible for 2 toddlers to be so quiet and just vanish. And I pointed this out in my first video. If you want to have a look at it, I'll also leave the link in the description below, where I even proved my point with another video from another YouTube creator who actually went on the scene, and I linked that video only for you to realize and hear exactly the noise that some footsteps makes outside. So to me, I find it impossible for Trezell to not to hear those kids when they went missing. To me, it just does not add up. And again, why were they not being supervised anyway? Yeah, I get it, they were in the backyard, but then Trezell mentions himself he left the gate open. This is again another justification from his side, trying to make us understand it's not his fault that he forgot he left the gate open. There's also a pattern here, you see. It seems that this fire plays an important role and is one of the focus points. He starts his interview with specifically mentioning it was cold, and so for his story to make sense, subsequently, because it was cold, he had to collect firewood to make a fire, right? And by collecting firewood, he left the gate open. And because it was a few days before Christmas, Jaqueline had to wrap the Christmas gifts, and the kids had to be outside so they don't see. Which in turn makes sense for the story to stick, that they were missing from the same backyard they played in because he forgot the gate open whilst collecting firewood. You know what? I can actually imagine Trezell and Jaqueline coming up with a story and trying to imagine it and rehearsing it and see if it makes sense. After all, Trezell was into conspiracies, so the inspiration was there already, in my opinion. And back to the interview again.
I realized that I left the gate open, and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that hadn't panned out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners. I went down this street, I turned my light on, I searched, I called their names. Talked to a gentleman on the street on the other side over there, he didn't see me.
Trezell is using some weird choice of words. So after he searched inside the house, asked his wife, searched in the backyard, and he says, once that didn't pan out, I got in the van. I mean, what's that even supposed to mean, you know? What didn't pan out? What exactly was supposed to pan out and it didn't? A project? A plan? I mean, it's so weird.
So then I came home and I told my wife we need to call the cops. It's getting dark and I need help. We gotta get going. So I called the cops. Cops came. First thing they did was tell us to stay in the house so they can get a hold of us. And they had us just sitting there and we wanted to keep searching. But everybody came out in droves, and I wanted to thank you guys that night, but we couldn't go outside.
So he doesn't find the kids, he comes back home and he tells his wife to call the police because he needs help. When he says that, Jaqueline again is affirming with a head shake again. She is reassuring him that he is sticking to the story. She's confirming that he is speaking the truth. So the police came, and here Trezell made sure to highlight the fact the police told them to stay in the house. There it is again, the justification of their actions as to why they didn't get involved in the search for Orrin and Orson West. So they wanted to keep searching, but the police didn't want them to search, and then he's deflecting by addressing the public and saying thank you for helping with the search. Now, I don't think there would be any parent in this world who would listen to the police saying to stay inside. Any genuine concerned parent would just be wanting to search and find their missing children. The police can advise, but the police won't force in these situations. Did anyone even question why did the police say such a thing? Maybe they said it because they wanted to see the parents' reaction. And this can speak for itself. In this case, to me, it certainly did. In my eyes, this reaction of theirs screams guilt.
The cops told us the best are out here.
The best are out here searching. And we appreciate it. And nobody ever we could never talk to anybody. And that was the issue.
Trezell is again saying they couldn't go outside, and then Jaqueline jumps in to remind him what to say. Again, here we see the cue again, that the cops said the best are out there searching. And now you can see the repetition. Jaqueline said it, and he just repeated what she said. I mean, why the repetition? Why are they repeating? We heard her already in the interview. Is he really trying to reassure us that what she's saying is true? Anyway, moving on with the interview. At this point, he stutters. Maybe he forgets what he needs to say and quickly says they couldn't talk to anybody. And why was that? Did the police stop them? To me, this is really ridiculous.
We just want to thank everybody.
We really want to thank you guys.
Please, if anybody has seen them, please call, let somebody know.
Call the cops. Call California, the city police department. Call them and let them know what you've seen, if you see anything. Our boys, they are going to be rambunctious, okay?
And then, our boys, they are going to be rambunctious. Oh my God, since I first time heard the interview, this is the one word which really stood out to me. They are going to be rambunctious. What an odd choice of words, really. How odd. And did you notice, never once have they mentioned Orrin and Orson by name, which shows to me detachment. They are trying to distance themselves. And why say rambunctious? Compared to the rest of his interview, this word just does not belong here. He speaks differently. More basic, not very sophisticated, if you get what I mean. And I'll be honest, here in the UK, I've never heard anyone using this word to describe children. The way that Trezell is saying this word as well, I can sense anger again. Rambunctious is a loud and noisy child, difficult to control or handle. Can this be why I'm sensing anger here? Is he hung up on the boy's behavior? I think after that he forgets what he needs to say next, and you can hear a really loud throat clearing. I think he's really just angry at himself at this point for forgetting what he needs to say. Right, moving on to the next part.
They are going to be here in this area, and I really would like to go in the houses, but it's not because I want to invade people's privacy. I just want to know if make sure. That's it.
They are going to be here. He's emphasizing here as in this location. So in his eyes, they will be here, which means the police should only look for them here because they can't be elsewhere but here. Again, any other concerned parent would not highlight this particular location. They would want the police to look for them anywhere and everywhere. And how can you be certain that they are here when they just vanished?
Because I don't, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, if you got any questions.
Oh, no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, you know, this is the first time we're hearing from you guys, and I can't imagine what you guys are going through. I can't even fathom it. For you guys, for people who are thinking that there's some kind of foul play involved, you know, we just spoke to the biological mother. She says she had a conversation with you guys, and that she thinks there's some kind of foul play involved, that she thinks you guys did something.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
The reporter in the interview then jumps in saying he spoke to the biological mother, to Ryan, and she thinks they are involved and is foul play. To this, both Trezell and Jaqueline respond that it's understandable, and Trezell says he would think the same thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for a second because if you guys are watching other YouTubers analyzing this interview, a lot of them are saying that the fact Trezell says is understandable is quite telling. If I'm honest, I don't agree. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. I think that if I would be in that position, it would be understandable that the biological mother would think the adoptive parents would be involved. So I don't find absolutely anything wrong about the way that Trezell said it. I think if you look at the bigger picture in a child abduction, people usually suspect the parents all the time, and it is understandable, isn't it? So I really believe that the same thing applies here, but what he says next is mind-boggling to me.
Yep. I mean, that's exactly the point. And if we can find our babies, then guess what? That's no. And that's all I want is to find our babies. That's it.
Trezell says that's exactly the point. So, what exactly is the point? For the biological mother to think that they were involved? Is it something here which, you know, we don't know? Like the adoptive parents trying to show the biological mother if they can't have the boys, she won't have the boys either? Is this a suggestion of narcissistic and obsessive behavior?
And I talked to her this morning, and I really wanted to tell her that I am completely sorry because we were entrusted with her children, and they came to us, and they became our children, and we named them, and they are our children, and so we want them back. So please, if y'all could get back on what you guys are doing, we should be able to get a hold of somebody, but they took all of our tech, so they wanted to, I guess, just rule us out, which makes sense. That's part of the investigation. So that's pretty much it.
Moving on now. Trezell is highlighting here the fact the boys became their children. They named them. They became their babies. They are our children, so we want them back. This, to me, is a sign of possessive and obsessive behavior, in my opinion. Trezell wants to make sure that everybody hears and knows the boys are his children, as if he owns them. They are his property. And so we want them back. Going back, I'm referencing again Chris Watts in his interview, where he was constantly saying he just wants them back. It's not about Orrin and Orson's well-being. They never say anything if they are safe, if they are hurt, scared, if they are cold, if they are hungry, if they are in danger. No, he reverts back to himself and Jaqueline that they want them back because it is what they need to get out of the situation they find themselves in. If the boys would be back with them, then Trezell and Jaqueline can go back to normal. I also don't think for a moment they expected to get this much publicity. They probably thought, being that Orrin and Orson are black, they wouldn't get as much attention. They thought they were just going to be, pushed aside. They definitely, in my opinion, did not predict this will happen.
Have you guys, you talked to the police all last night?
Yes.
So you guys willfully gave them your
Everything.
technology,
Yes.
the car.
Yes.
How did they get a search warrant? Did you guys?
I
no
don't see
idea.
why they got one, but they got one. We
Yeah,
would
they
have let them
didn't
take
need one,
anything.
but-
We would have let them take everything. We let them come in and search with us. We asked them to come do that.
What did they take?
Just tech. And that's it. Like our phones.
From the house, though, did they?
Should have been out here the first day. Not right now. It's below camera.
Oh, well, I guess, should I answer that or?
Answer it to us, yeah.
Okay, so into the, okay, and I guess, I don't even know.
I see. Yeah, we seriously felt like we needed to be out here. We did. Again, we were told the best are out here looking already. Just to stay put. They have more questions. There was literally a cop with us the whole time in there.
He had sitting down. We would ask, can we go help? They had to sit
He
down.
said nope.
He said, no, we got the best out there.
So
we
it's
need
not-
you guys here in case we have more questions.
I don't want you guys thinking we
don't.
didn't try. We actually
We
looked
tried.
before we called the police.
Yes.
And I also think that it was the children's aunt starts asking questions, and you can tell that Trezell becomes annoyed at that and quite irritated. Jaqueline again highlights the fact the police told them to stay put and tries to defend why they haven't searched as well. And she mentions she doesn't want them to believe they didn't want to search, but they were ordered by the police not to. Which is bullshit, again, I have to say it. And again, this reminds me so well of another case I'm working on, which is the Madeleine McCann case. The parents did exactly the same thing. They were never out there looking for their missing daughter. So there are so many similarities here.
And I imagine the mind-boggling part is the search for information. What happened? Where are they?
Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And
And just so we are able to present the information correctly, at what time did you guys notice your kids went missing, and at what time were they reported missing to the police?
it's about, I think it was about 4:30, going on 5. It was getting dark, like I said.
5-ish.
5-ish. That's about it. That's when everything played out.
And then when did you guys call the police to report them missing?
After we searched
Yeah.
a little bit around here, it was dark, so we definitely we got worried.
Would you say it was maybe within an hour, a couple hours?
No, it was within minutes of us getting finished with our search.
Okay.
It was within minutes.
Then there's also this point where the reporter is asking at what time did they report Orrin and Orson missing. And so Trezell starts again explaining it was about 3:30 when it got dark and then they were missing, but weirdly enough he avoids altogether saying specifically when they reported the children missing, at what time. So I'm wondering, is that because he forgot that part of the story, the time? He didn't want to make a mistake and he avoided answering altogether? And before we move on, guys, again, I have to apologize for the noise. It's heavily raining, as it is every day in the UK lately. So you'll probably hear this noise throughout the rest of the video. It's been raining today on and off. Okay, so I'm going to quote here another thing he said. That's when everything played out. Again, This is such an odd choice of words. Everything played out. Like what? The plan? Your plan? The story? Is this when your story came to life? What exactly played out? Okay, let's move on to where the reporter is asking them what do they think happened if the boys would have wandered off. Oh my god. And they said we are getting snow. This is the snow. As I had to stop there for a second, it was raining too heavily and it was too noisy, so I couldn't carry on. Okay, now let's move on to where the reporter is asking Trezell and Jaqueline what do they think happened if the boys would have wandered off.
What do you guys want people at home to understand about this situation? For them, you know, even speaking about what you guys are feeling is difficult. What do you want them at home to understand about this whole situation?
We're going through it. It's difficult. I mean, everybody's making their own their own conclusions. They don't know anything. We're not sure like everything. We're not sure. We said what we knew, and if anybody has seen them or anything, please call the police department.
Would you be willing to provide pictures, or do you have any?
I have older pictures. All my newest were on my phone.
Okay, that's fine.
A lot of people are speaking of this as, you know, after the math, past tense. I want to talk about your kids in present tense. What kind of boys are these? Tell us about the boys.
Very playful, very rambunctious, and they do love to wrestle. They do love to kind of get rough with each other.
Kids.
They're kids. Of course, they would love to go out, but so during the pandemic, we weren't trying to go, you know, out here, and so we stayed inside.
Did you guys ever go out and search?
Yes,
we did. We searched before we called the cops.
That's
That's what we were saying.
What time did they come up missing?
They came missing right before it got dark. And then we called. I searched that property. I even drove around this neighborhood right here. I even talked to a gentleman on that side, one of those streets over there. I said, "Did you see some little black kids?"
Did you go that way looking for them?
That's the way I was gonna come. But when I came back home, I decided to call the cops because it was dark. They couldn't have got away that fast.
And why did it take two people to go in the house and leave two kids out here by themselves? It should have been one parent going in and one parent right here watching the child, not two parents going in the house and leaving two little kids out here by themselves for 10 minutes.
No, they were in the backyard, and the back gate was open.
Out the backyard.
And the back gate was open, and I was getting wood from this lot here.
So you guys was being unresponsible and left the gate open, left some little kids outside with the gate open.
All right. Sorry, you guys were talking about your boys who you're, you know, I understand. For a mother, a mother's intuition, I know you were saying, and we'll get your names after this, but you were saying how you feel like they're in this area. Do you feel the same way? And what is the intuition? What is the sense you get? What do you think happened to your boys? Do you think someone took them? Do you think they're lost? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely know they're not walking around. They're not that kind. They do not just roam around. You know, these patches. They definitely, I think definitely would have been picked up or something.
That was my assumption.
Have they ever taken off out of the yard before?
No.
They've never taken off?
No.
You guys are new to Cal City, right?
Yep.
How long have you guys been living here?
Just 3 months.
Jaqueline, again, she tries to keep the focus on this area and she emphasizes the boys wouldn't be the kind to just wander off and they must have been picked up or something. And right here, Trezell is saying that's his assumption as well. Yet again, some really odd statements here. They must have been picked up or something? Like, you know, were they finishing school and their parents picked them up from school? It doesn't really make any sense. Or something. What does that even mean? They've been picked up or, I don't know, whatever, I don't care, I couldn't care less. Or was it an arrangement with someone and Orrin and Orson were picked up by someone the adoptive parents know? Is she trying to make the police focus on false leads again? Like, you know, if they've been picked up, they will never be found, so there's no point in the investigation? Trezell is then confirming and agreeing with Jaqueline, using again a word out of character in my opinion.
It's crazy because y'all say y'all came out looking for the kids and y'all got neighbors that say y'all ain't even came out looking for no kids.
The neighbors weren't out here.
We were looking.
We were looking.
I'm just saying, bro, it's crazy, bro. I got kids of my own.
Where do you live?
Them little boys that y'all raising, them is my biological family.
I understand,
I
brother.
don't leave kids outside,
And
bro.
I understand.
I have
3 and
9
4 year
kids.
old?
I have 9 kids.
But they was
There's
outside in
no
the backyard
way
and I was
I'm
watching
gonna leave my kids unattended.
3
Not
and
even
4 year old
for a
though.
minute.
Like you sit here,
I get-
with, like,
we
not
get
a
that,
bullet
we
in
get
your
it.
heart, bro.
They were in the
We feel
backyard.
You
it.
don't even look like you worried,
But
bro.
you said the
I've-
gate.
I've
but
been-
why would
I've been
okay,
going
y'all know
through it
y'all
all
finna,
the
y'all
few
know y'all
days.
finna go inside the house, right?
Yeah.
Y'all are foster parents, right?
No.
Okay,
we're
well, y'all
adopted
adopted
parents.
them,
Yeah,
right?
they are
Okay,
children.
shut the gate. Go in the house. Why did it take both of y'all to go in the house and leave them outside by themselves?
I understand
And
that.
y'all know the gate was
Why haven't
open.
y'all been out with the people around this neighborhood looking with the kids?
Because we already told on
said
camera.
that.
We
I
already
didn't
told
see y'all on
camera.
no cameras last night. I
No.
didn't even see y'all out here praying with them people. Them people was out to take care of my nephew. Not this not supposed to happen.
I understand.
Y'all was supposed to take care of my
I
nephew.
understand.
You act
If anybody's watching at home who knows anything, or if somebody who has these kids, if they're watching, what is your message to them?
The message has always been, as soon as possible, call the California City Police Department, and please bring our babies home, and that's that.
Towards the end of the interview, Trezell very casually says, "That's that." Again, I am saying it. That's that as in, oh, come on, let's just finish with this already. Something like that, you know, that's how it sounds like. He's literally fed up with this. He just doesn't care. Then, he also says they were under orders from the police to stay in the house. Oh my God. Just like a lawyer advises, a police officer advises as well. The lawyer can't really force you not to cooperate and give a statement, just like a police officer can't force you not to look for the kids.
It's one of the reasons why we actually didn't want to
This
do
is
this.
the reason why. Because we
bio
were
families.
under orders to stay in the house and stay because they're going to need to contact us, and we cannot go outside, and that was the issue. We were under orders by the cops to stay home in the house and let the professionals look.
But you just said that they were your children. If they were your children, regardless of what somebody told you, wouldn't you want to go look for them?
Well, we have cop actually posted in the front door right
But you know
there.
how cold it is at night? Would you
We
not think
totally
We
understand
totally
that.
understand.
We understand.
If you guys please, if you guys actually have that question, you should ask the police officer.
The situation, but do you see how it seems that,
Yes.
that the kids was left unattended? You guys went in the house and then the kids disappeared. How did they disappear?
Exactly, and that's the word we try to figure out.
It doesn't make sense. How did they disappear? How did they go out? You guys had the house supervised already. And my question is, why were they the only 2 children out? Where were the rest of the kids?
The rest of the kids were with grandma.
With who?
They left. They went on vacation.
So they didn't.
No, because they're too young. We didn't. We watched them, and it turns out that happened.
How did the
All right, guys, sorry, I know
They're
that,
older.
just really quickly before we forget, first and last names, spelling of both for both of you guys.
So, Susan, said it again.
Just first and last name,
Spelling of who or what?
or just your first and last name.
Oh, our names.
Trezell West
Jaqueline
is
West.
Trezell West.
Okay, and for you,
JACQUELINE.
I'm sorry, one more time.
JACQUELINE.
Okay. West.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we'll let you go.
All right.
Sorry about that.
This is
No.
Having reached the end of the interview, all I can see here is lack of emotion, ignorance. I really think I will also run out of words on this one. But anyway, Trezell and Jaqueline West never have shown any kind of emotion whatsoever. No worry, no guilt, no nothing. At times you could even spot Trezell trying to fake emotion, but he didn't quite get there. They never mentioned the boys' names. All I felt from them was frustration, anger and irritation at the questions, at having to answer them, at the neighbors, at the biological family of Orrin and Orson. These, in my opinion, are not parents who are concerned about their children going missing. They do not seem to care if they are in danger or not. They only care about justifying their actions and covering their asses. They definitely know more than they say. In my opinion, they are involved in their children's disappearance, and it's quite possible they came to terms with that, and this can be one of the reasons they lack emotion entirely. Or it can just be they are plain and simple narcissistic, pathetic people. Please, do not adopt a child if you will not look after them. Do not adopt a child for money. A child is another life, worth just the same like yours or other people. Children don't have any fault whatsoever. The fact they are placed for adoption does not make them any less of a person than any other human beings. If you have any information that can lead to the location of Orrin and Orson and try to find out what happened, please contact the following agencies: the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, and the number is 310-477-6565. California City Police Department, 760-373-8606. Bakersfield Police Department, 661-327-7111. Please also make sure you share this video as much as you can. Maybe it will reach far and wide and someone who knows something will contact the authorities. For now, thank you so much for watching and for staying with me. I will also put out another video, just a breakdown of the timeline, in case you guys don't have time to watch the full-length videos. It will be just maybe like an 8 or 9 minutes video. It's just you know, like a recap of everything that has happened, so you can catch up if you haven't done so already. Anyway, again, thank you so much for watching. Take care and stay safe. Bye bye.